I want to talk a little bit about hair using fiber mesh today. Like, for example, how we might make these eyebrows, right? So I think I've already painted out the eyebrows here on this head. So yeah, he's looking particularly creepy without any eyebrows. So I want to add fiber mesh, and I'd like to add fiber mesh just in a few different places. Eyebrows being one of them, and another one, maybe just give him another goatee for fun or some facial hair. I hear some dinging. I don't know if you guys are with me here. I don't see anybody in the chat, in the Twitch chat yet, so please say something. If you're here, if you're seeing this, say something in the Twitch chat. Like, confirm that you're seeing this. That would be great. Hello, hello. Okay, I got 2 people. That's good. All right. So fiber mesh allows us to grow fur or hair. We do have a variety of different presets that we can use. If we hit the comma button, you're going to see under fibers that we have a lot of different fiber mesh presets. So definitely play around with these. You're not necessarily going to find one that's perfect for everything, but you know, it's fun to play around. So let's first start by figuring out what do we want to use fiber mesh wise, like maybe for this goatee as an example. I can either mask this with the mask pen tool, or I can use the mask lasso, or whatever you want to mask. Like I keep saying, I have a tendency to start with the lasso tool and then maybe use the pen after that. Stick with a white color. It's a little bit easier to see. If it's hard to see with the basic white material, you can also switch to the flat material as well. Flat color. And then that really makes this super easy to see, right? Now it's like very obvious what's masked and what's not. Because the flat material is actually kind of hard to see, I typically try to stay with the basic white material. And I can now mask. Again, I kind of prefer the mask pen for this kind of thing because, well, frankly, the lasso is going to go through the whole head, right? So it's probably just a little bit too much. So then make a mask that you're going to imagine is where the hair grows from for this goatee. I keep making this guy into like the drummer from Slayer, is it? He has a really crazy goatee. I don't know. Oops. And of course, if this is soft, that is to say, if this is a soft mask, remember we can go to a lower subdivision, hit Control and tap, and that should make a softer mask. Then to grow the fiber mesh, it doesn't have to be up here, by the way, at 7.5 million. In fact, I'll go down to 473,000. I don't think that subdivision matters too much. Of course, the masking does matter. Now, under fiber mesh, I would like to go over first kind of the basics here. We could, of course, jump right to the lightbox and jump right to one of these presets, but that doesn't, you don't learn very much from that, right? So instead of jumping to a preset, which we can do that in a minute, I'd like to start from scratch. So I'll click preview. And when I click preview right off the bat, you can start to see some hair, right? Open up modifiers, and I want to go through a lot of these. First of all, max fibers is going to be your density. So obviously, if you have very low max fibers, then you can really see how this is just giving us some scraggles, I guess. Not very much density at all. So max fibers, again, basically hair density, or how thick the hair is. If you'd like to see this without the mask, you can do that, by the way. So if you take the mask fibers way down, you can clearly see the mask. But check it out. Control H will hide the mask. The mask is hidden, but still there. So, of course, if I turn up my max fibers, then it still works fine. All right. Now from here, So this is, again, hair density or fur density or whatever. We have the next one, if we hover over it, we've got density variation. So that means just what it sounds like. If you want a lot of variation in density, of course, we can crank this up. It's only at 0.2 right now, but that's just going to give us variation across the masking or, you know, throughout the masking. Next is going to be length. You can crank on this and really get something crazy long, super long. Length is obviously very important, depending on if we want stubble, have a very, very short length. So if we're trying to create stubble, short length here makes sense. So by making the length really, really low, like 3 in this case, I get some nice stubble. It's also easier to see what the variation is doing this way. But anyway, next is length profile, which is this. So, oops, here we go, length profile. So we could do something like this if we wanted it to be longer in the center versus the sides. That's what we could, right now it's longer in the center versus the opposite. The sides might be longer here. And then we've got reset if we just want the same length without any change. Okay, embed is pretty cool because embed is how far the hair goes into the skin. So if I turn up the embed a little bit, you're going to actually see that the hair or fur or stubble or whatever goes into the skin. Now, next, we've got scale root and scale tip. If we want something that's very like soft, if we were doing like very, very soft cat hair, for example, then you might want or just any kind of soft fur or soft hair in general, then make sure that your scale tip is very, very low or just non-existent, 0.000 something, you know. So the lower the scale tip, the softer the hair. Oops, let me go back to length, add a little bit of length to this. A little more. And then color, right? So if I want more, instead of just black hair, I want something more brown, then change your base color to maybe something that's dark brown, like that. And your tip should almost always be like a lighter version. And by the way, you can drag this. So if I click and drag up to the top, then that automatically picks the same brown. And then I can make this a little bit lighter. And you can start to see I'm getting some nice kind of cool brown hair effects going on here. By the way, one nice thing about fibremesh is you can always hit Shift R to render at any time. This will allow you to render your fibremesh and sort of see how this is working for you. Feel like this maybe look a little bit better if I just turn my color back on. It feels a little strange without my poly paint being on. There we go. That's a little bit better. So Shift R again for render, or render your BPR render. And we're starting to get some hair in here. Go back to fibremesh and continue to play with this stuff. So we've got some of the stuff I haven't really talked about. For example, coverage or revolve or twist. So if you were trying to make sort of curlier hair or gnarlier, twistier, I don't know, curlier hair, lack for a better term, you can revolve and twist. We've also got twist variations and revolve variations. And you can see the more I do this, the more kind of noisy the hair becomes. And you can really see this if I pull the length out more. See, now I have something that's quite a bit wavier. The problem with doing like really wavy hair like this is that you can see right off the bat it's kind of chunky. Like if we look very carefully at the hair or at the fibremesh, you can see that it's weirdly chunky. See what I mean? Super chunky. And this is due to the segments down here. So if I want something not so polygonal, not so chunky, not so like horribly low poly, then I want to turn up my segments to, I don't know, 8 or 10 or 11. And you can see immediately the hair starts to relax because we have more segments, right? And then the more segments you have, the smoother the hair is. Now, I don't want you to think that these are curves at the outside because they're not really curves at the outside. They're actually polygon strips. So all of these things you see here are very, very thin polygon strips. And now you can start to see where the revolve and the twist ends up making something really, really noisy. So if you want to zero this stuff out, then zero out the twist and the twist variation. And now all we're seeing is some interesting revolve stuff. So I repeat, if you want the hair to sort of settle more and to have sort of nicer curves or kind of curvier hair in general, then add more segments. The less segments that you have, like if we go back down to 2, you can see, oh my God, that looks terrible because the hair only has 2 ways to bend or 1 way to bend because the segmentation is so low. The higher the segmentation, the more the hair is allowed to relax. So if we're up here at like 15 segments, then we get something that's much more relaxed, much more curvy. All right, moving on. Like maybe we don't want any revolve, we can zero that out. Revolve variation, zero that out. And now we basically are back to like straight hair again. Very straight, very long goatee. I feel like it was the drummer to Slayer. I don't know. Okay, let's keep going, right? With this hair stuff. Gravity's kind of interesting because it's a way for you to sort of do a little bit of hair sort of grooming or sculpting before we have to commit to anything. Because once we click the accept button over here, all the stuff goes away. So my gravity is 0.5 by default, but if I used negative 0.5, of course, the hair is going to go up, which is pretty silly looking. But by inverting the gravity, of course, the hair goes up. Now, interesting thing about gravity in ZBrush is it's all based on your camera angle. So, or your rotation. Let me just say that like if I wanted the hair to grow sideways, all I would do is have to rotate the head and watch what happens. If I rotate the head, this seems really silly, but if you rotate the head, then the hair is going to drop straight down when I turn gravity. So watch, if I adjust my gravity at all, like to 2 or something, or just move it at all, actually you don't even need to just move it. See, now the hair is dropping down this way. So gravity is always in relation to the direction of the model. See, now the gravity, see what I mean? See, it's all going this way. So it's really a question of what the rotation of the model is as to how the gravity works. If you have like a head at a really weird angle, then of course gravity, all you've got to do is just touch the slider, but now gravity is going this way, basically in reverse. So it's again all completely based on angle, right? So then, you know, obviously if the head is facing towards us with the proper angle, then the gravity should force the hair to go down, which it does, as long as you just touch the slider. I don't ever mess with the gravity profile, but I guess you can. Color profile is kind of cool if you want the darker color to creep back up more versus the other way around. See, now the lighter color will do more work. So this is, the color profile is kind of useful if you want to control how the base color versus the tip color works. Clumps I don't usually use very much, but you can. So obviously if you crank on clumping, then you're going to get clumping in your hair. So if you end up playing around with the clumping as well as the revolve, as well as the revolve rate, revolve radius, twist, like if you change these guys along with your clumping, you can get some kind of pretty interesting effects. But this is normally where I start to go to the presets and start playing around with the presets. But always render if you can. Let's get this color variation this way. No, actually I was happier the way it was before. You can always click reset too. And base colorize, tip colorize, variations. All right. I think I'm about ready to move on to using some presets, but this is kind of the basic stuff. If you're happy with what you're getting out of this, if this is something you're happy with, then you can always click accept. You know, I mean, you have to decide what you want here. Now, one problem is, of course, I'm not looking at my reference. So if I want to match his facial hair, because he does have facial hair on his upper lip, he's got kind of a mustache, and he's got facial hair that goes up the side of his face. So obviously, I want to add more than just this goatee. But I'd like you guys to play around with this, play around with these settings. And always hit Shift-R to render to check this stuff out. All right, let's do something a little more interesting now, and go ahead and try using a preset. Up here, go to Lightroom, Fibers. The one I like to start out with is 142 over here. You can kind of immediately see what this looks like. Really long, oh my God. Crazy looking. So then immediately from here, you could adjust the length, because this is heavy metal drummer length, right? So let's pull this length back. There we go. Like way back. Okay, not that far. There we go. Something like that. Now, this particular preset comes with a texture, which is kind of cool. And if you scroll down here, you can actually see this is the texture that's being applied. So that's pretty slick, I've got to say. And like I keep saying, if you wanna adjust the density of the hair, you can just play with the max fibers until you get what you're looking for. Shift-R for render. All right, let's say you're actually, I'm not really too happy with the twist and the revolve here, so I'm going to zero all this stuff out. Oh, I don't want any clumps either. There we go. So say you're happy with this. We'll pretend that we're happy with this. Whoop, somebody have questions? Do I hear questions or no? Can you go over masking out the hair? Wait, I thought that's what I was doing. Is that not what you mean, masking out for fibremesh? Or you're talking about sculpted hair, maybe? Are you referring to sculpted hair versus fibremesh hair? Is that what you mean? I'm not really sure what you mean. Which one? Sculpted hair or fibremesh hair? Masking out the hair. I'm not sure which one you mean. Be clear. Do you want sculpted? Like sculpted hair masking, or because the masking here is what we use to generate the fibremesh, right? So if I turn my mask on, there's my mask. Like you can see the mask is there, and that's what we use to drive the fibremesh. But I feel like that's not what you mean. Oh, that is what you mean. Fibremesh mask. How would you go about placing fibremesh on the head? So yeah, same thing, right? Masking, just mask where you want the fibremesh to be. So let's add to the goatee hair by masking the hairline. Right? And again, you can use mask pen as well. I really should look at my reference at this point, but yeah, it's just masking your hairline. Control Alt to remove If you want to remove some of the masking, it's Control-Alt. And I recommend, again, using a combination of mask pen and mask lasso. Like I said, I start off with mask lasso. And then click preview. And at this point we can either play with the settings ourselves or go and start with another preset. Oh, and yeah, now he's definitely heavy metal drummer, right? Shift R for render. So I like to render as much as I can before I click the accept button, as often as possible, because rendering is going to show me what the length really looks like, what the twist really looks like, what the coverage really looks like, and revolve and so on and so forth, and the texture, I think I already mentioned. So if you don't render, you're never going to see what these things look like. And since you can render without clicking accept, you might as well take advantage of that. Like, one thing I'm seeing is it's like kind of dark hair, but it's also based on this image. So, I mean, we could change the color here, but that shouldn't have any effect given that the color is coming from this image. So I don't think changing the base color in this case makes any difference whatsoever. See, I'm making it white, and it doesn't make any change because, again, all the color is coming from this. And it seems like darker than I would have expected. My segments are at 11, and again, you can turn these up. The hair is going to fall more gently, or more accurately, the more segments that you have. I really feel like I should be using the reference right now, but he's got dreadlocks, of course. So I would want to use the dreadlock preset. This can be found on ZbrushGuides.com. There is a dreadlock preset. I don't think there's one in ZBrush built in. You have to go get it from ZBrush Guides. By the way, the max fiber is in thousands. So 132 is like 132,000, which is, of course, quite a bit. Okay. Color is still really pretty dark. I mean, we can turn the texture off here just to sort of have control over. See, now I can go back because he's not going to be an old man with white hair here, but I can go back and make brown. And like I keep saying, it's typically, the base color is typically a lot darker. And then the tip color should be a lot lighter. Don't forget that tip, right? If you drag one to the other, it will copy it. This yellow feels bad. Let's drag one to the other. There we go. Make the base color a little darker. Cool. And maybe make the tip color a little brighter. I usually go diagonal, by the way. All right, and then Shift R to render. This is assuming you don't want that hair texture. Oof, this render is taking a while. Guys, for homework, I'd really like to see a render of your head either in Maya with Arnold or in Keyshot if you can. I will work on seeing if I can get you guys some temporary Keyshot licenses, if that's even possible. It was possible last term, so I'm hoping it'll be possible this term as well. But whether or not you want to use Arnold or Keyshot is kind of up to you, whatever you can produce the best results in. The only thing I don't want you to use is the ZBrush renderer, which, yeah, I'm testing out the hair in right now, but ultimately the ZBrush renderer is only really good for the stylized rendering. It's not really good for anything else, in my opinion. Ooh, jeez, this is really slow. Come on. I mean, things that are slowing down the render here. First of all, the segments. It's a lot of segments. 13 is a lot. And something else that's slowing down the render time is, of course, how much hair I have. So this is, again, back to the density. Right? So then the density of the hair is controlled up here. All right, it's still rendering, so I have to finish, like, wait for the render. But, oh, there it goes. Cool. It's kind of shaggy. A little shaggier than I like, but it's getting there. So max fibers, right? So this is the density of the hair. This is also what causes a huge amount of render time. Let's pull the length back down a little bit. Pull the max fibers way down because, man, this is taking a while to render. So usually I have it at 40 or 50 because this is in thousands. So at 40, it's 40,000, 50, 50,000, and so on. All right. I don't really like all the variation. So I zero these out to maybe have a little bit less variation. Direction variation 0. See? Oh my God, that was the culprit. So direction variation, obviously in this case, is the one that's doing the most work. Where was that? Oh, up here. Density variation? No, I thought it was direction variation. Maybe it's density. Nope, it was density variation. Okay. So, you can play with these until you get kind of what you're looking for. But at some point, you can't do all the work with these sliders. You can't do all the work here. So when you lose your patience and you're like, okay, well, it's time for me to now groom the hair, you can finally click the accept button. I do try to render it a few times before I do this. Okay, not bad. Wait, I got a question over there. Would you make a separate mask for bangs? No, I'm about to style the fiber mesh now, so just give me a minute and I'll... One thing I would like to talk about, though, is that you can have as many fiber mesh objects as you want. Because, like, look, if I want to say I want to have the goatee as a different object, then I can just clear out this mask for the goatee. So I'll change back to lasso. I'll hold down Control and Alt, and when I clear out the mask, the goatee is gone. I click preview again, and so if I just want the hair on the head, for example, I'll click accept. Activate, yes, fast preview mode is fine. So now I have the hair as a separate subtool. But I can always go back. Let's turn the hair off. And then just make the goatee as a separate patch of hair or a separate subtool. Right, so I'll get the mask for my goatee back again. Something like this. It's not perfect, but whatever. And then I can make this a separate subtool. Come on, wake up. So under fiber mesh, click preview again. I haven't changed any of these settings, although actually, now that I look at the crazy length and density, I think I will. So I'll pull back on the length and pull back on the max fibers. All right, and then click accept, right? So as soon as I click accept, now that makes it into another subtool. So I have one for the hair, one for the goatee. And you can have as many of these as you want. So like, for example, maybe you want to do it again, do it even another time. But this time, one more time. But this time I am going to make stubble. So I'll do something like this and check. See, the perspective really screwed me up there. I don't know if you saw how bad that worked, but turn the perspective off first when you do this. That's kind of important. Perspective might really make these things kind of difficult, but all right, there you go. Still not great. Wow. Still so far off. Again, use your mask pen and just kind of... brackets to make the brush bigger or smaller. And then again, Alt to remove. And don't worry, I'm gonna blur this quite a bit also. I don't want the hair to go into the ear. No. Okay. So again, there we go. Blur the heck out of it. And usually when you want to blur a mask, it works better if you go to a lower subdivision level to do so. So if I really want this blurred, because this looks kind of wacky the way it is, what can I do? Hit Shift D to go to a lower subdivision level. And at this lower subdivision level, I can hold down Control and tap, and then that blurs out my mask, which I think works much better for stubble. So I'm going to make some stubble here. I'll go back to fibremesh. I'll turn on my fibremesh again, click preview. But this time, I'll make the length really, really low, like that. And I'm basically creating stubble. If I hit Control H, that'll hide my, Control H will hide my mask. And then with a very low length, depending on how scruffy he is, I actually kind of want to change the base color to be a little bit darker. Even this a little bit darker, everything a little darker. There, that I think works better. And that's my stubble. See, so I've actually made 3 fiber mesh. I've got my hair piece on top. I've got my goatee here, and I've even got some stubble as well. And then with it on, looks something like this. And yeah, I know I should be looking at my reference, of course. And I hope you guys look at your reference, but I'm just kind of showing you the basics of fiber mesh. The same idea can be used to make eyebrows. So you want to mask out some eyebrows and grow the fiber mesh from the mask in the exact same way. But that's starting to look good. I feel like I need more density in the hair, definitely, and I haven't groomed anything yet. So that's, of course, another problem. Let's make eyebrows really quick, and then I'll talk about grooming. And yeah, I know it doesn't match his facial hair perfectly. And yeah, he's got, of course, dreadlocks. But just bear with me for a minute. Let's put some eyebrows in. Is this making sense to you guys at all? Yes, no? Would you make a separate mask for bangs? No. I mean, yes and no. You can make as many masks and fiber mesh objects and fiber mesh subtools as you want. So that's kind of up to you. All right. Zbrush, eyebrow, alpha. Just Google it. Just Google it. Find a eyebrow alpha that you like. You could potentially even make your own, but just for the sake of this demo, I'll use this. This is going to be my eyebrow alpha. Here. And I'll save this. Now, ZBrush doesn't always like JPEGs, by the way, so if this doesn't immediately work for you, you want to convert it from a JPEG. Eyebrow alpha. Like that. We go back into, wait, did I hear a question? I don't know. Let me check. No, it doesn't look like it. There's somebody, I don't have too many of you in Discord anymore, but let's just keep going. So to create the mask for the eyebrow, watch this. I like to use the standard brush. Hold down Control, and then we'll go to Mask Rectangle, like this. Mask Rectangle, hold down Control. And this, of course, allows me to make something like that. But what I'm going to do now is go up to a higher subdivision level. I'm at 473,000. Let's go up one more. 1.8 million. I want it to be over a million. Hold down Control, load in that alpha. With the Control button held down with my finger, I'm going to now go to the eyebrow alpha. Let's do that again. There it is, eyebrow alpha. So now, if I hold down the Control button, I should be able to make the eyebrow as a mask. See what I mean? Spacebar allows me to move it. So I'm using my spacebar to move it. Make sure that you have at least 1,000,000 or more points when you do this. Then release. And if you're not sure it's there, you can always go to your flat color. And there's the eyebrow. You might want to do this at a higher subdivision, even higher than 1,000,000 or 1.8 million. Because, of course, the higher you do this, like if I hit the D... Oh, am I not? I guess I'm... That's as high as it goes. Wow, I thought I had a higher sub... No, 7.5 million. There you go. So at 7.5 million, when I do this, I get a much clearer mask, right? I get a mask that hopefully works a little better. I hope. So there's my eyebrow. Let's go back to basic material. I'll do it one more time. Spacebar again allows me to move it around. So something like that. And once I get the placement where I want it, then I think you guys know the rest. From here, we can go over to fibremesh, click preview. Now in this case, I want the hair to grow up. And if you remember from earlier, if I want hair to grow up, I can go to my gravity and invert it. So maybe -1 or -0.9 or -0.8. But the point is, by inverting the gravity, hair goes up. Now the hair is actually going up. And I actually want that. I'll click accept. Yes. So now I've got eyebrows. Looks pretty cool. We can also groom the eyebrows as well. I think I might have screwed up by making the color a little bit brighter than I wanted, but let's see. We'll see. Ooh, this rendering process is taking a long time. And again, because fibremesh does make your poly count jump significantly. So I've got many, many more millions of polygons. Because remember, fibremesh is not actually curves by default, but rather polygon strips. So I know these look like curves, but they're not. They're strips of polygons. So there we go. It's not terrible, but I think I might have made the eyebrow a little bit too light in terms of the color. But anyway, let's do it for the other side. How do I put the eyebrow on the other side? Well, I can flip my alpha. So under alpha, I'll click flip H. Flip H. That way the alpha is going the other direction. Hold down Control. Under, again, alpha, flip H. And now, excuse me, I'm sorry. Make sure that the head is selected. Oh, no. There you go. Here. And do it again, holding down Control and Spacebar to get your eyebrow mask. Now, if you want to paint your own eyebrow mask because you feel like this is not very accurate, that's a great idea because, I mean, I'm just using somebody else's eyebrow alpha, and it may not be very accurate to the actual person. So you can always paint your own mask if you want. I just find this to be pretty fast and easy. But definitely your eyebrows are probably going to be a bit different. Okay. Click accept. All right. So now I've got eyebrows, I've got facial hair, and yeah. And I've got stuff that I can actually groom at this point. So select the hair you want to groom. Let's go with the hair on the top of the head. Uh-oh, looks like I got eyebrows in the back of the head too. I've got like several sets of eyebrows. Whoops. I should have mentioned that, I guess. Let's turn this one off. Okay, the hair I want to groom is the hair on the head. So I select that. I hit B for brush, G for groom. These are all the grooming brushes I have. There are a ton of them. All I can say is really play with them to see which ones work for you. Don't touch the lengthen one, please, because that does exactly what you think it does. It grows the hair out. So, you know, if I wanted his goatee to be longer, I guess I could lengthen it this way, but it's typically not the one you want to start with. If you have a lot of long hair, maybe you want to use groom hair long. I would say his hair is kind of medium length, but you can see how the grooming brush works. Works pretty damn well. Adjust your Z intensity and maybe turn on lazy mouse if you want, under lazy mouse. And that's only if you want. But see, now I can begin grooming the hair. And you know, lazy mouse is kind of up to you if you want to use lazy mouse or not. But this is how I would groom the hair. Let's get it away from the ear. Try to groom it around the hair, around the ear a little bit. I mean, you can have hair, of course, over the ear as well if you want. But this is kind of a really rough, really just rough introduction tutorial to grooming and using fibremesh, creating fibremesh. I personally feel like it's a lot easier to do this in Zbrush than it is in Maya. That's a personal opinion. It works pretty well. And Alt, of course, will push in, just like it does with the Move brush. But that's it. If you didn't know that this was going to turn into a hair grooming class, well, now you know. And again, Alt. Try holding down Alt to see what it does. You may find that you just kind of have to go for a different angle. One of my favorite brushes for grooming, I would say, is going to be actually the strong groom brush. But you got to make some settings, you got to change some settings around. So then that one works like using a tablet also helps a lot here. But hit B for brush, G for groom. Notice we have all these different ones. The one I really like is groom strong. But if you're going to use groom strong, be sure to change the focal shift back to 0 or close to it and adjust your Z intensity because this one's really strong. And now this to me gives, I think, the best results. But it depends a lot on the length of your hair too. And it's definitely strong grooming without a doubt. You know. But it works well. It's more like a brush, or I'm sorry, what am I trying to say? A hairbrush. It feels really like an actual hairbrush. Shift, by the way, will shorten your hair. It'll shrink the hair back. So there's no scissors. So it's not like I can just use scissors. So if I want the hair to shrink back, I'm going to hold down the shift button, and that'll basically make the hair shrink back. So it's not like going through my ear. And just shrinks this back. This will work pretty well. Again, for areas that you don't want the hair to grow through your ear, for example. Or if you wanted the goatee to get a little shorter, hold down Shift, and it'll shrink that goatee back like that. But that's starting to look pretty good. If we want a little bit of noise in the hair, like maybe it's a wind blown, or again like kind of a brush that goes through it, use the turbulence brush. But keep the intensity relatively low because it's, again, really strong. So by using a very, very low intensity turbulence brush, I can actually, there it is. I can actually add a little bit of a variation to the hair. See, add a little noise to the hair. But again, I recommend doing this at a very low Z intensity. And again, hold down Shift if you want it to shrink back. So again, it's not going over the ears. Hold down Shift. Shrink it back. Like that. Is this making sense to you guys? I mean, I know it's not, I'm not doing a good job here in terms of matching the reference, which I should be. I really should be looking at the reference, but this is just a quick intro to fibremesh. He's going to be freaked out that I gave him straight hair and took away his dreadlocks, but oh well. So play with these. There is a blower that is exactly what you think it is. This is like a hair blower. This is going to give your body more hair, just like it would if you like put a hair dryer on your hair. See, so that just literally blows the hair around. Be careful to not have RGB on when you do this, because it will actually change the color. So just fair warning. I want to give my hair a little more volume. Just like literally put a hair dryer on it with the blower. So I can just blow it up if I wanted to. Something like that. Might be cool. Give it a little more volume in the front. All right, I'm getting deep into hairdressing right now, but who's got questions for me? Come on, you guys, you gotta have some questions. There's a lot of new material here, guys. Come on, gotta be some questions. I'm sorry, it's kind of funny. I'm giving him a kind of a silly haircut, but that's okay. Should have some fun using these grooming brushes. Like I said, my preferred grooming brush is Groom Strong. That's BGS. And that just gives me a nice hairbrush. Feels very natural, feels like a hairbrush to me. Very easy to brush the hair. Just make sure if you're going to be using Groom Strong, again, adjust your focal shift and adjust your Z intensity. Like so. But yeah. Allows me to brush my hair pretty nicely. You can also brush your eyebrows back a little bit if you want. But since there's such short hair, you might want to go with groom hair. Notice that there's groom hair long. There's also groom hair short. Where are you? Right here. And so that might be better if you know, like, okay, the eyebrows are really, really short, and I just kind of want to groom them using the short groom hairbrush. Hold down shift to shrink in the eyebrows a little bit on the side here. Just holding down shift, again, shrinks the hair. All right, Josh is going to be kind of amazed at his new haircut. I think he's going to be upset at losing his dreadlocks, maybe. Questions, guys. Questions. Who's got questions? How would you create a part on the head? Masking off one side would be a way to do it, or mask off where the part is. So the simple answer is masking is how I would do it. Come on, finish the render. Yeah, it's starting to get there. Here's what can we do to make this render go a little faster. I mean, the problem is we have a lot of polygons at this point. So I don't know if there's a simple answer to that question. The segments of the hair are really going to make the render time kind of crazy. I'll move the light around a little bit. Get something a little bit nicer. Yeah, Wesley, just like adding a mask when you're grooming to one side of the hair is probably the best way to create a part. You could also potentially actually, since I have a few minutes left here, let's talk about maybe doing two separate fiber meshes. So one option would be to create that part in the mask. So here, I'll show you what I mean in a second here after this render. Oh, make sure you're not rendering ambient occlusion, because ambient occlusion is definitely going to make this go a lot, make this really take a lot longer. We're getting a lot closer now. I think maybe the eyebrow's gone into the head a little too far here, and maybe I would still want a little more turbulence. But let's try to add a nicer part in the head or in the hair. So I'll turn this off. And there's kind of two ways, two thoughts on this. You could try to make the part in the mask when you create it. So in other words, like you could say, okay, mask lasso. Uh-oh. Eyebrows in the back of the head. We're gonna pretend we don't see those. Those are not there. We don't know how that happened. It's because of the mask lasso is why that happened. But all right, back to the part. So when you make this initial mask, you could try and make that initial mask kind of have the part in it. So that's one way of thinking that, like, I can, oh, got my wrong thing selected. So one way of doing this is to just do it this way, Control and Alt, and then make the part like this. I don't like doing it that way, but you can. Like, kind of just make the part as part of the mask. I don't like that. I personally think it's better instead to maybe make two pieces of fiber mesh completely, meaning that you can try to ignore that. Oh, God. That's comical. I'll go over how to fix this in a second. So holding down Control and Alt, basically what I'm saying is make two fiber meshes for two different sides of the head. So if this was one fiber mesh, oops, I've got my stubble settings on here. Remember, Control H will hide your mask. Go back into modifiers, increase the length. Ooh, gravity. Let's hey, he's got a punk hairdo. Let's invert the gravity so it's not negative, but rather positive. There we go. It's a little better. And I mean, one thing that's cool, right, is that if I wanted to, I could turn the head to the side somehow, like this. Nope, not like that. The other way, like this. And then if I were to mess with my gravity, it's going to make the hair fall this way. See what I mean? So that's not a bad way to kind of trick it right off the bat. I mean, if you feel like, well, no, I really want my hair to go down, not to the side, then obviously just get the hair back, or get the head back to a kind of a vertical setup, like this. And then, again, just mess with your gravity slider, and then it'll go back down, like that. Anyway, click accept. And groom. Pay no attention to all the hair going through the eyes. Use your groom long. Uh-oh. I think I might have accidentally gotten... Oh, no. I must have had the eyebrow masking still on somehow. What? Yeah, I created eyebrows. Oh, no. Oh, well, delete that. That's obviously wrong. Jeez. I have really no idea how the eyebrows got in there. But that's okay. I'll go back. Hit undo to get my mask back. Give me my mask back. Control H. I feel like I've accidentally got eyebrows. Oh, I totally do. All right, don't don't include the eyebrows in your masking. No wonder it was so weird. Clear this up. Do it again. Preview. There we go. Better. Definitely better. Turn up the max to 40,000, 35,000, 50,000. Okay, and now click accept. Yes. Whew, that's a lot better. So I guess what I'm trying to say, Wesley, see now I can do some grooming over here. So I guess what I'm saying is that now I can make another piece of hair that goes on the other side, effectively making the part very obvious, right? Here's my part. So I would just make another fiber mesh. I kind of want to make him kind of punk right now, and then just like add stubble to the other side, like he's got one side of his head shaved. But I'm kind of riffing right now. Obviously he's got dreadlocks, but all right. So then, to answer your question, I would do another mask here. Let's just do it. I have a little bit of time left, I think. Yeah, a little time. So then, let's not use the lasso in this case, but just the brush. Ooh. Alt-click onto the head. That way you know where you're doing. Okay, so important thing here, obviously, is I don't want the hair to be growing this way. You could probably turn on transparency and then hold down Alt, because again, you don't want your hair on this side of the head, right? We only want the hair here. All right, so that looks pretty good. Preview. See, now I've got a second fiber mesh piece here. And maybe I want to make it a shaved head, so I'll just pull the length way back. Like way back. Because it's a shaved head, right? Hit Control H to hide. And if I'm getting it through the ear again, just like make sure that you control your masking a little bit better. Like I don't want it to go through the ear. Whoops, that's weird. Can't get my masking back? Oh well. We just don't want to accidentally get the hair growing out of the ear. It's a common mistake. It's really, you just gotta be careful with it. Don't have any masking on the tip of the ear. It still seems to be kind of going through the ear a little bit. See what I mean? So, flat color. It's definitely got some masking in here, I think. Yep, there's some masking. So there's a problem. We don't want any masking on the ear. Make sure that we don't have masking on the ear. We don't want hair growing out of the ear. At least I don't think you do. Preview. Okay. And then again, Control H to hide the mask. So there we go. That's one way to force that part. Now you definitely have a part there. So if we click accept, again, now we can just kind of take this other fiber mesh piece that we've created, and now we should have created two, right? So we got this guy, we got 1 and 2. Groom it, B and G for groom. Groom strong or groom long or groom short, it's up to you. Whatever you feel more comfortable with. I like the groom strong. Just adjust the focal length to 0, adjust the Z intensity. Something really low. I said really low. Maybe I will go back to long. I don't know. This is something you just have to kind of figure out for yourself. Groom strong does definitely, it's a strong brush, so if you want to kind of add the noise back in, don't forget you can go to turbulence, B and G, and then turbulence. Where are you? There you go. Whenever I'm using the turbulence though, I try to keep a pretty like low intensity so it doesn't go too nuts, because obviously higher intensity you get this whoa craziness. It's too much. So then yeah, be careful with your turbulence. Keep it relatively low. And I mean, if that's still not really giving you what you're after, it's interesting. You can also go to the blower again, the groom blower, and keep your intensity low on this guy too. That'll also add body and turbulence. Hold down shift again to make it shrink back. So I'm holding down shift to get it to shrink back away from that ear. Don't want to see hair going through my ear. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You got your part there. Very obvious. All right. Who's got questions for me? Does anybody have questions? This is just a quick introduction to fibremesh. I don't expect it to be perfect by next class at all. You know, just do your best. Have some fun doing a little bit of 3D hair grooming if you can. Questions? I think we're pretty much at the end. This guy looks so emo. It's not a face. Yeah. What? You don't want me to go with the Skrillex look where he's got half of his head shaved? That's not cool anymore. Are we past that shaved head thing? Half shaved head.
I don't know who Skrillex.
I feel like it's still pop. They do know who Skrillex is. I'm sure they know who Skrillex is. They're not, not that young. Oh, I turned off the eyebrows. That looks a little weird. Let me turn the eyebrows back on. Yeah, I think dreadlocks definitely maybe a little bit better than the emo look. I would agree. So, but here it looks really weird without eyebrows. So let's get the eyebrows back on. Let me render one more time. And while that's happening, don't forget the ZBrush guides. We're not that young. What? You don't remember dubstep? What? Really? Everybody loves dubstep. Come on, it was even mentioned in the Deadpool movie, I think, several times. In the Deadpool sequel. Dubstep is dead. Long live dubstep. Anyway, go to ZBrush Guides where we got the IZTL, and you're going to notice that there are a bunch of fibremesh brushes. So if you go to resources and you go to brushes, you should see that there's a bunch available. And in fact, one of the brushes that's available to me right now is well, if I can get to where this is, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to find some of these resources. Come on. Well, he has some really nice fiber meshes on this website. Like I said, you might have to poke around a little bit. But they're here, and one of the things, see, there's a grooming kit, but don't spend money on the grooming kit. That's not necessary. I mean, it is here, but we want to just see the... Oh my god. Very slow loading, I'm afraid. Anyway, there is a fibremesh brush for dreadlocks. Oh, there it is. Fibremesh presets right here. Bam. Dreadlock base 1, dreadlock base 2. So I've been giving you guys just a really quick introduction to fibremesh. Nothing particularly amazing, but look at these fibremesh brushes available to you. Like if I wanted to actually create some nice dreadlocks, then look, I have 4 dreadlock brushes. So I would download these dreadlock fibremesh brushes, and then I could continue from there. And you could try any one of these out. So let's see, there's even another dreadlock brush. Yasmin, you might want to try this one. Maybe just change the color, possibly from gray to something darker. But be aware that these are here for you. So in fact, I have an ape that I've been working on, and I've been using this Japanese macaque fur. Okay. And so this is what I have right now. Still needs a lot of styling, especially on the side here. I think I've kind of made the side of the head look really weird, but I can Alt click and then continue styling. We're getting kind of close to the end here, So I got to ask you guys what kind of questions you have. I would like for you to start making some hair and eyebrows, please. That's what's due for homework. Um, and I do recommend staying away from the lengthen brush. The lengthen brush is the only one that I don't really like or use very much. But since there's an exception to every rule, like, well, then why would I use the lengthen brush? Is there any reason to use the length? Yeah, well, of course. If you want to say lengthen the goatee, so if I were to go to the goatee fiber mesh and I really want to make it longer, then sure, I could use the lengthen brush. I just very rarely do this because you'd like to get your lengthen done when you create the fiber mesh. But yes, it is possible to use the lengthen brush and like pull down the goatee. I just don't think that looks very good. I just feel like that's pretty lame. So I very rarely use this brush. But I mean, you can use it, obviously. So play around with these brushes, you know. B for brush, G for groom. You've got a bunch of them to play with. Just try to be subtle. In other words, like turbulence is going to look bad if you make it too much. You can also color using groom color tip or groom color root. So if I wanted to give his goatee like bright red, for example, then this would allow me to color his hair a little bit. So it is possible to color the hair after the fact. I could hit C to sample that color and then maybe make it darker, for example, make it really dark. And then now I'm coloring that goatee a much darker brown. So I don't know, just if you wanted a darker brown on your goatee. So it's definitely possible to color the hair after the fact if you want. I'm just about at the end, so I'll check the questions one more time. Feel free to download any fiber mesh presets, play with them, have fun with it. Sounds Gucci. Yeah, you gotta give him the glasses and stuff. That's important. You gotta give him the thick horn rim glasses, shaved side of the head, um, driving bass, all that stuff. There we go. So there you go. Just like a quick introduction to fiber mesh. Just do your best. Put that on your blog. Please try to get some eyebrows if nothing else. But I'd like you to take a stab at creating hair. I don't expect you to render this in Arnold or Keyshot just yet, but we've got to start doing that. So the sooner you can jump into Keyshot or Arnold, the better off you will be, because we're running out of time. These are actually going to be due in 2 weeks, guys. 2 weeks. You get 2 weeks. So this is due on the 20th for the midterm critique. If you want to export these curves to Arnold or to XGen, you can select the fiber mesh, go back to the fiber mesh menu. So select the subtool first, right? So select the subtool, whatever you want to export. Then go down to your fiber mesh menu and check it out. You have an export curves right here. So under export curves, click this, and then you can actually change this in the previs value. So right now it's going to end up exporting 14,842 curves. That's a lot for XGen. You don't need anywhere near that amount. So if you go back into your previs menu, open up modifier, open up preview settings, and that's what they mean here, this previs. See, so if we lower this previs to go really, really, really low, notice how this is changing down here. So the lower your previs down here, like really low previs, like really low, then when we go to export curves, now we have something significantly less. But there's my OBJ. That goes into Maya and goes into XGen. So that's how you export the curves to XGen if you want. Down here under export curves. But yeah, that's we're pretty much at the end. So I think we're at the end of class and at the end of the demo, so this will be the last render. We can take these hairs into XGen for next class. Don't be afraid of having as many fiber mesh subtools as you need. So, you know, you can have some for stubble, you can have some for goatee, you can have some for the hair, you can have some for the eyebrows, like whatever you need. I need to continue grooming this a lot more, but like I said, I gotta end the demo. But yeah, that's about it. I don't think I have much else for this right now, but try to have some fun grooming hair, grooming 3D hair. Try out your different brushes, try out your different grooming brushes. Try to match your photo reference and so on, but you know, it's going to take a little bit of practice. This is not something that you're just going to get immediately. You got to spend a little bit of time grooming, a little bit of time playing around with these brushes. It's not going to be an immediate thing where you get like the immediate results that you want. So it definitely takes a little bit of a trial and error to get this looking the way you want it to. All right. I guess I got to stop there. So yeah. All right.